Water can be found all over Earth, in the ocean, on land, and in the atmosphere. The water cycle is the path that all water follows as it moves around our planet. But first, let me answer the question, where is the Earth's water? 96.5% of Earth's water is in the ocean, and 1.7% is in lakes, rivers, streams, and soil, while the other 1.7% is in polar ice caps, glaciers, and permanent snow, while the remaining 0.001% is in water vapor in Earth's atmosphere. On Earth, you can find water in all three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Liquid water is found in Earth's oceans, rivers, lakes, streams, and even in the soil and underground. Solid ice is found in glaciers, snow, and at the north and south poles. Lastly is the water vapor. Water vapor is a gas that can be found in Earth's atmosphere. So, how does water travel from a glacier to the ocean to a cloud? That's where the water cycle comes in.
The most significant processes that makes up the water cycle are condensation, precipitation, infiltration, runoff, and evapotranspiration. Condensation is the process of water changing from a vapor to a liquid form. Water vapor in the air rises mostly by the convection process. This means warm and humid air rise, while cooler air will flow downward, which will form into clouds. Next, clouds deliver precipitation water in the form of rain, sleet, snow, or hail. Precipitation begins when water vapor condenses in the atmosphere and becomes too heavy to be sustained atmospheric air currents. Precipitation may evaporate before it reaches the ground, or it can get to the surface where it mixes with surface water in streams and lakes, or infiltrates soil to form groundwater. Then, a percentage of precipitation reaches the Earth's surface infiltrated into the ground is called infiltration. The more gaps in the surface, such as cracks, pores, and joints, the greater the probability of infiltration. After that, precipitation that reaches the Earth's surface but does not penetrate the soil is referred to as runoff. Runoff may occur as a result of melting snow and ice. When there is a great deal of precipitation, the soils get saturated. Finally, evapotranspiration is the process through which water evaporates from the ground and is released by plants through respiration. Evapotranspiration is the process through which water vapor is returned to the atmosphere. Then transpiration happens when plants absorb water by their roots and release that via their leaves.
Discuss the water cycle. Water cycle shows the constant circulation of water through the world and its atmosphere. A water cycle is a basic circular cycle made of three stages: evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. However, as we understand more about the water cycle, we discover that it consists of 9 key physical processes: evaporation, condensation, precipitation, interception, infiltration, percolation, transpiration, runoff, and storage. The water cycle and our environment have a vital relationship on our planet. Water cycle is essential in preserving life. The imbalance of our climate, or should I say climate change, will result in many calamities. Without flowing water, natural water sources will become contaminated with other species of plant, making it very hard to filter. Rainwater should also be a useless source because of the lack of precipitation.
Along with the lack of water flow, many existing water sources would lack filtering. No water flow in lakes would cause overgrowth, killing many species of fish and other lake wildlife. Rivers would be drained, all hydropower dams would be decommissioned. Unless watered, any land away from the immediate beach or coastline would dry up. There would be a massive loss of vegetation, and animals will die as a result of this.
Environmental impacts are changes in the natural or built environment that are directly caused by an activity and can have negative impacts on the air, land, water, fish, and wildlife, or the ecosystem's inhabitants, which in this case heavily leans on human activities and its consequences in the environment. This can be seen in the operations and maintenance of infrastructures, facilities, and vehicles. Mass transit has numerous potential environmental impacts to manage, including air pollution, greenhouse gas emission from energy use, and many more. The majority of negative environmental impacts are also directly related to public and quality of life issues. To put it in shorter words, anthropogenic impacts results from changes to biophysical environments and ecosystems, biodiversity and natural resources caused directly or indirectly by humans. This can include global warming, environmental degradation such as ocean acidification, mass extinction and biodiversity loss, ecological crisis, and ecological collapse. Examples of human activities that can affect the environment include overpopulation, pollution, burning of fossil fuels, and deforestation.
Invasive species is an organism that is not indigenous or native to a particular area. Invasive species can cause great economic and environmental harm to the new area. Invasive species may arrive in new areas through natural migration, but they are often introduced by the activities of other species. Human activities such as those involved in global commerce and pet trade are considered to be the most common ways invasive plants, animals, microbes, and other organisms are transported to new habitats. Invasive species can be introduced to an area by ship ballast water, firewood, accidental release, and by people. Human actions are the primary means of invasive species introductions. Not all non-native species are invasive. For example, most of the food crops grown around the world, including popular varieties of wheat, tomatoes, and rice, are not native to the region. To be invasive, a species must adapt to the new area easily, it must reproduce quickly, it must harm property, the economy, or the native plants and animals of the region. A species must be easily adaptable to a new environment to be invasive. It must multiply rapidly, it must be detrimental to property, the economy, biodiversity, and animals.
People must become aware of invasive species in aquatic environments. The invasive species can significantly affect water quality and the ecosystem because they affect stability, volume, and pollution levels. Let me truly discuss two examples of invasive species that you should know. Number 1. Zebra mussels. Zebra mussels are one of the most aggressive endeavors. Massive zebra mussels population may severely reduce native plankton, reducing fish food. To live, these plankton-eating fish must discover new food sources or migrate to a different lake. Sadly, many animals cannot do so. And lastly, the Northern Pacific sea stars. Northern Pacific sea stars consume avidly. They will consume practically everything. Worse, Northern Pacific sea stars increase rapidly. They increased to 12 million in one region in just 2 years, and they have been blamed for the spotted handfish decreases.
Epigenetics. First, what is the meaning of epigenetics? Epigenetics appears on the study that scientifically illustrates how the environment influence water cycle experiences affect their genes. This work on the specific places of DNA to read the gene that a chemical group can remove on the process of demethylation. The second is how does epigenetics works and affects on water cycle. Epigenetic mechanism stress events have been shown to modulate gene expression via activation or to silence permanently. As a result, depending on the availability of this resource in the soil, water loss by transpiration should be adjusted. Physiological, molecular, and hormonal alteration in scion or rootstocks combination, involving rootstock with varied soil water extraction capabilities influenced by repeated water deficits. Climate change has made dramatic alteration that caused the restriction of water supply that changed the cytosine methylation on epigenetics on their modification of DNA.
We now know that a fully functioning hydrological cycle is essential in regulating the sustainability of marine life. In a functioning ocean, is vital to the health of our planet and humanity. Even though we benefit from this process, we have done more harm to the ocean by interfering with water circulation in the Earth. Only with global cooperation will our oceans recover and thrive once again. We saved the Earth by international agreement. Now, it is time to save our oceans.